And we're back. Another outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates. Today we are joined by UK musician Mr. Barry Ashworth from the Dub Pistols. How are you today, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm alive and kicking. A weekend of festivals, but I'm still at it.
It was, what festivals did you end up going to? Because I know there was a car race yesterday and there was a big soccer game, or football, you guys call it.
It was this week I've done Bearded Theory, which is a massive, I say massive, it's 15, 20,000 people. That was fantastic. So I've done that. And then went from there to Elderflower Festival, which we were headlining. So it's kind of coming into festival season now. So I'm generally doing 3 festivals a week.
Oh, nice. How does it feel, though, to get back into them festivals after 2 years of just sitting around doing nothing? Isn't that great? Isn't that a great feeling to get back there and see the crowd, see the audience again?
I mean, your mic keeps cutting out a little bit there, brother.
I'm so sorry.
Every other word.
Oh, I'm so. Can you hear me a little bit better now? Is that a little bit better?
It's just a bit glippy. It's just for some reason we're clipping, but I'm not sure why.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll try to talk a little slow. Maybe I'm talking a little faster, but I'm saying, doesn't it feel good to get back out there in the festivals? All them people.
Yeah, that's not having it.
All that crowds. Isn't that nice again?
No, I don't know why. It's just keeps dropping out.
All right, let me adjust my mic. Hold on.
That was working then. As soon as you stepped away from it, it worked.
All right, so right there, it's good.
Still a bit weird. Just like, it's clipping. It's sort of like just cutting.
Maybe I got to lean. Is that better right there? If I talk like that, maybe I lean like that.
That was working, but. All
right, let me turn this here, and I'll talk like this. All right,
so I'm looking away over there all the time. That's fine.
How does it feel? That festival season, doesn't it feel good to get back out in them crowds again, though? Isn't it awesome?
You got back.
Damn it! All right, hold on.
Are you getting me though? That's the main thing.
You are loud and clear. You are loud and clear. All right, hold on.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's what about that? Is that better?
Square Table Degenerates.
Live. All right, what about that? Is that better? Can you hear me better now? Audio. What about now? Can you hear me?
I can you just keep cutting in and out, but go on, keep going.
All right, maybe the headphones.
That's better.
All right, there we go. All right, so I was saying, you're talking about festival season. You're getting back out there in the festivals. Doesn't that feel good? Just get back out there amongst the people, see the people again.
The Dub Pistols were a touring band. That's all we do is spend our lives on the road. So I've been doing it for quite a few years, as you can imagine. And certainly in the early years, it was based on a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And lots of things used to go wrong, my company's called What the Fuck Could Possibly Go Wrong Limited. And that's the touring company for the Dub Pistols. And we got a documentary coming out called What the Fuck Could Possibly Go Wrong, the history of the Dub Pistols. And it's the story of every band, it's sex, drugs and rock and roll, but it was like a 25-year hangover of just like, nightmares. So saying what I was getting kept back to, my point was I was touring. We was touring nonstop. Especially now with the way the music industry set up, obviously, with streaming confiscating most of your income. So we spend our life on the road, which is something I've always loved. But I would say just pre-COVID, I was finally getting to the point where burnout was kicking in. I think I speak for myself and I probably speak for the most of the rest of my band. We hated each other. It was just like, it was like we were sick of each other. It was like, so I think COVID come at a really good time because it sort of made us realise that actually we love what we do and we don't actually mind each other.
Oh yeah, well it's like that with anything. I mean, I had buddies in the service when I was in the service. It was like that. You go someplace, your best friends forever. And then you go to a place, and after 2 weeks, living in close quarters, you want to kill each other. It's just the way it's anyway is. That's the way anyway is in close quarters. You know what I mean? You still hear me good?
I don't know what is happening, and I'm sure it's not my computer.
Maybe try that. Try taking off the headphones. Maybe the headphones is doing it.
Yeah, no, but
is that a little better now? Maybe. There we go. How about that?
I mean, you're there. I mean, I think it's just one of those things. It just keeps dropping out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, so I'll try to bring that.
I mean, right now it's working.
All right, perfect.
And I'm sorry for anyone who's watching this or listening to this. We will get there.
Your end's been good. Your end's been good the whole time. Hopefully, the audience said they've. Bell Pepper said that she said it sounds perfect. All right, so I'm assuming you were born in the UK. That's right.
Yeah, I am a London lad, born of a Scouse family. Which, if you don't understand, that's a Northern Liverpool crew. So yeah, I'm first generation Mockney and UK born and bred. Spent a lot of time in America after we'd done a deal with Geffen Records in I can't remember what year it was now, but quite early on in the Dub Pistols career when we were Broken Skin and Jimmy Irvine heard this record that we'd done with Planet Asia, and he said it was the best record he'd heard in about 10 years. And I went from literally being bankrupt to flying out the next day and doing a $1.5 million deal, which I blew in a year.
1 year you went through $1.5 million.
1 year I came home and I thought I knew I'd been bad. I knew I'd been bad, but I thought about 120,000 left, and I went to the bank and I was 16,000 overdrawn. And I was like, "What have I done?" And I went to my manager and said, "Ugh." And she said, "Barry, you've had a great time, though, haven't you?" And she was right. I had a great time, but I really thought I was ruined.
That's great. It shows right there. We got a question from Captain. He says, "Will you be celebrating the Queen's Jubilee?"
Listen, I'm not a monarchist by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I don't believe in, you know, people's rights to just be, you know, but I do believe, you know, the Queen, for, like I said, you know, I'm not a monarchist by any stretch of the imagination. I do think the Queen has served this country well. I think she's been exemplary in her 90 plus years, and God knows how many years, 70 or whatever it is at the throne, you know, to take us through two world wars. And she's never really, apart from arguably the hit on Diana, really taken us, done much wrong, you know. So I don't know, will I be celebrating? I'm doing a concert on Thursday with Madness. I don't know if you're a Madness fan or not, you know, Two-Tone Scar, Madness, you know, the massive band. Them, Squeeze, Supercast, huge, like Mike Skinner from the Streets. So we're doing a big fit concert to 50,000 people in London, which I'm looking forward to. So that would be my celebration. But apart from that, like I said, the royal family haven't really got much time for them. I do appreciate the Queen and what she's done for the country.
Good stuff. Now, what did your parents do for a living when you were coming up?
My father was an armed robber.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I never really met my real dad. But the person that I call my father, the one that brought me up when he wasn't in prison, he was, it was a bit of a wrong one, you know. He which is again why we do Bank Robber. I tell people this song's dedicated to my dad. He was an armed robber, and I'm like, well, maybe he was just a shoplifter, but you know, it's a much better story if he was an armed robber, Bonnie and Clyde type caper. So he spent a lot of time in and out of jail. He was actually a really good role model. But and I remember when we used to know, because when you're in your final year in the UK of prison, then you get put into what's called an open prison, which means you go out on day release and you can work in the community and things like that. So we would know that my dad was going to escape on a certain day, and my mum would get me and my brother in matching sort of denim suits from the catalogue, which is where you buy your clothes on the hock sort of thing, you know, so that he would come to the school and we'd be standing there at the gates like that, and then my dad would turn up and be like, dad through the fence like this, and then suddenly the police would turn up And then they would suddenly chase him in front of the whole school across the field. And was like, yeah, go, Dad. It wasn't until you get older and you start going, well, it's not a very good, strong look, is it, Dad? You know what I mean? You realise. But at the time, we thought he was super cool, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm the same way with my kids. My kids say they are never going to smoke weed or drink beer ever. Like, the both of them, they're like, we're not doing it. So my fun times led for a good role model. Like you said, it's awesome, man. So what did you play sports growing up? Were you a big sports guy when you were?
I mean, I'm massive. I mean, you know, I like most kids in the UK, football or soccer, as you lot call it, was my dream. Liverpool's my team. The team you talked about playing in the final this week. They're my team. I played semi-pro. Like everybody, you thought you could have been something, you know what I mean? And then I'll tell you what happened. I was playing semi-professional and in the lower leagues, and I broke my leg, and I went to Ibiza in 1987. Now, for anyone who knows anything about the electronic dance scene, or acid house scene, as it was called, it started in Ibiza around about 1987. So I went to Ibiza. I took things I shouldn't have. Decided that I was going to stay there, spent the whole year there, changed my life. And that's when I got into running clubs and putting on parties and things like that. So my footballing career ended right there. But you know, when you're younger as well, you think life is forever. So even though you're stopping for a moment, you think you're going to pick up that footballing sort of, or that sports career further down the line.
Never do.
And you don't realise how much until you're older that your body breaks down. And I remember coming back and playing a charity game, and I think I lasted 5 minutes and I was knocking the ball about. And I thought, yeah, I still got it. And then I just felt dizzy and had to go in goal. You know, it was just like, and that's it. My body's now broken from performing.
I used to get like that with American football, like tackle football. Like, I played in high school, and I thought, like, when I was a little in my 20s, oh yeah, I could do this. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. You know, you've got to be super gifted. You've got to have a talent, but you've got to have pure determination and work ethic like nothing else to succeed. You know, it's like anything. You get out of it what you put into it. But, you know, you can only admire the elite athletes, you know, what they put themselves through and what they have to go through mentally as well as physically to get into that position.
Nice. Phil says, oi, oi, he's going to see you in September. Your buddy Phil, he's met you a couple of times, he said.
Are you coming to Mucky Weekender, Phil?
Say it again.
Is he coming to my festival then? Because I've got a festival in September.
I believe so.
There you go. Go on, Phil.
What were some of the earliest music you remember listening to growing up?
I guess, I guess the things that had the biggest influence on me, I mean, obviously I've been around a while now. I'm heritage, apparently. Is, I guess, the Clash and the Specials, Sex Pistols, you know, they were the first. And then I went through different jazz funk periods, hip hop periods, so many different things. But I guess the first bands would have been the Clash and the Specials.
Nice.
You know, and then gradually, as you get older, you go through lots of different genres. But they were the first things that sort of blew my head off.
Okay, we got a quick question from Captain. He says, "Okay, Barry, will Liverpool come back stronger next season?"
I hope so, but I'm really not sure. You know, I mean, yes, they're going to be. You know, Jurgen Klopp for me is the best manager in the world. The Liverpool team is absolutely unbelievable. But when you see the money, the oil-rich money, blood money that Man City have got, then it's going to be very hard to come back and compete with the signings they've already made. So, changing the subject, I hope so, darling. We'll never walk alone. You know that.
I got a question from Jamie. He says, "Have you ever been starstruck by anyone?"
I met George Best, which is going back on football, and I don't know if you know George Best. He was probably like one of the most incredible, well, probably one of the best talented footballers ever. He was up there with Pele, not quite as good as Pele, but he was a really bad alcoholic. And I met him once, and that was pretty mind blowing. I also met. I was lucky enough to work with Paul McCartney. and I got to I was working with him, and I remember standing there, and he was singing "Hey Jude," and I was just like, you know, when you have to pinch yourself. And when I was it was at Pinewood Studios, and I remember Wills and Harry and Princess Diana was still alive, and she came to the studio to meet him. Wills and Harry were with her. It was just like, oh my God, it's the Beatles. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, that was mind blowing. I also met Michael Jackson the year he came and did the Brit Awards, and Jarvis Cocker came through that thing when he was singing. I can't remember. It was a bad nightmare that night anyway, but I did actually meet him, which was pretty mind blowing.
That's awesome, man. Good stuff. What kind back in the day did you guys? Now I'm from the States. Did you guys have like I mean, there was obviously records, but did you, before you got into music, did you have like tape players and 8-tracks and all that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you, man, I'm heritage. I'm old. I'm 56 years old now. Do you know what I mean? So I used to have 3 record shops of my own. You know, I've gone through the whole thing. And when we used to record, we used to record on tape back in the early days. You know, it was like, you know, I remember when we got the first sampler, and the sampling would last about 30 seconds on your S900, Akai S900. It was like, you know, I don't even think you got 30 seconds worth. No, not in 30 seconds. About 3 seconds worth of sampling time that you just had to, you know, it's really grungy, but it gave it something really unique to the recordings, you know?
Nice. Heck yeah. Well, how old were you before you first started like performing music, or like got into, you know, like here's my group of my friends, I'm doing this for music. How old were you before that started happening?
I was probably late to the party, you know, like most people start performing quite early. As I said to you, I went off to Ibiza in 1987, and I was a club promoter, so I was putting on acts. You know, I think I used to pay Chemical Brothers £50 a show, Cole Cox £50 a show. I remember when DJ started charging £350 a show, and I thought they were all getting greedy and the whole game was over, you know. It was like, so the time I started performing, there was a band around called the Happy Mondays. I don't know if you remember them, but as good as they were more about being off their faces, and it was kind of like, the recordings were great, the shows were shambolic, but the energy was just incredible. And I just thought, you know what? If they can do a show, so can I. And I just went out and that's what I did, just started giving it a go. And to be honest, I was pretty bad. But the press said I was good, and I wasn't. And then as soon as I did actually get good, the press said I was shit.
Yep, that's the way it goes. All right, this is a running question we got. Joke on the show: Beatles or Queen? Who you got?
Oh, it's Beatles.
Okay, so there's one for the Beatles.
And there's nothing wrong. Freddie Mercury, incredibly, amazingly talented performer, without doubt, incredible voice, great showman. But you know, for me, I just love the Beatles. You know, and they're from Liverpool.
Oh, exactly. They're from your home. That's the way I am with Machine Gun Kelly. He's from Cleveland, and I'm from Cleveland, so I'm always gonna like MGK no matter what.
Another true story though, my wife, her mother was married to Mark Bolan, so her and Freddie Mercury were best friends.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what was high school life like for you? Were you doing electronic, or were you getting into the counterculture scene already, or what were you coming up in high school?
School was public school. I loved playing football at school. I hated school. I burnt down the science lab. I was an arsonist back in those days. I got through it. You know what I mean? I got through it. It was different times then, and yeah, I mean, I came out without any qualifications. I'm not proud of it. I mean, I had a real fear of taking exams and things like that. So I left with nothing when I left school.
What year did you graduate high school? What year did you graduate high school?
I left when I was 16.
What year was that?
I can't even remember.
So you're 52, 16, 83. Okay, so did you go to college, or did you go right to? I don't. How do you say Isaba? Isaba. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
No, I went and became a plasterer in the building trade, because my family are all building trade. And then I met a girl when I was quite young, and her father was a film director. So I managed to get work as a runner on the film sets, and I worked my way up to being a first assistant director. So I've been quite lucky in my career.
Okay. We got a question from Captain. He says, do you think it's too easy for lesser talented artists to make it big now?
Too easy? No, listen, the music industry's always been 10% talent and 90% marketing. There's always been, there's so much talent out there that never, ever, ever breaks through. And I work with some of the most fantastic musicians in the world, and yet they can't have their own careers for some reason, because they're not good at the social media, or they've never been good at the marketing or management side of it. So I wouldn't say it's easier, because I think the industry as a whole is harder now with, like I said, with the streaming and just the way things are set up, that the money, the way it was, has gone. The industry is very hard to understand now, but I always think a lot of the things that have always risen have not necessarily been the best talent. The problem you got now, I think, is like, could you imagine, because everything's based on algorithms now, like, so there would be no Pink Floyd, there'd be no Doors, there'd be no Rolling Stones. None of these bands would ever exist, because the way the algorithms are set up, that the music's got to be less than average and instant before you've even got a chance of being picked up by a record company. So God, if you go off and do something strange and not away from the way it works, you haven't got a chance. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, again, if you're very good at the digital social marketing side of it, then you've probably got a great chance. But I do think the industry is harder than ever.
It is, man. It's like that with with anything with YouTube. It's like, I feel for these guys. They got buddies who do music, and they're trying to grow, and just to get noticed is impossible for some of them. I mean, what do they do? Unless you do something ridiculous, a stunt or something. I mean, you almost don't get noticed in today's era.
You've got to bring on, you really have, like I said to you, the music industry is 10% talent, 90% marketing. So you've got to bring someone who actually knows what they're doing on to get you that attention. You still got to do a lot of hard work and things like that, but you've got to bring in a marketing team on whatever level just to get you up. In the old days, and this is something, there used to be A&R man. An A&R man used to come to every gig in every small town, in every village, in everywhere. They'd have these people, and then there'll be a local thing that would build, and then the A&R man would come, and that would get you noticed, and then they'd come along, and then they'd go back and report. There's none of that anymore. They simply look at their computers, look how many followers, look how many likes you got, and then, like I said, put the music through some algorithm to see if it's shit enough.
Yeah, that sucks. It's mind-boggling, man. Now, I was reading up on you, and we got to talk about Isabel. How do you say that? Isabel? How do you pronounce that?
What that?
The island there off of Spain. Is it Ibiza?
Ibiza.
Okay. And it says you established 2 infamous club nights, Monkey Drum and Naked Lunch. First off, did you find like 37 4-leaf clovers in a row? How did you end up down in Itaba? And how did you end up down there? Is this like the party spot?
As I said to you, it was pure chance that I went to Ibiza. It was, as I said, I was recovering from a football injury. I went over there to recuperate. I took a load of pills. I never went home. I spent the whole of that summer out of my mind, and then came back and decided that that's what I was going to do, was get involved in this music industry scene that seemed like the best thing in the world. And when I'm talking about like my past drug taking and substance abuse and things like that, like I was nothing that I would ever condone or encourage anybody to do. I've survived it, but at great cost, and a lot of friends that I've lost along the way that haven't made it. So I would never encourage anyone to do it, but it's part of what happened to me. And it cost me probably the best part of my career, and most of my money at certain stages. I'm just lucky enough to still be around. So, I lived a sex, drugs, and rock and roll life, but I paid for it.
Now, I got to ask you about the naked lunch. Now, is that is it just chicks dancing topless with titties? I mean, what was the scene like? I mean, that sounds fun.
No. It was none of that. It was the William Burroughs Naked Lunch book. Now, if you know the William Burroughs, his books, William Burroughs is a real twisted journalist, and if you read his books, they're really fucked up. Do you know what I mean? So it was that was more the take than the naked side of it. It was no lap dancing or anything like that. It was pure acid house.
Okay, so it's just dance rock and stuff like that. None of the spring break type shenanigans.
No. It was literally, like I said, it was based on the journalist. Very much sort of like your Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas type caper.
Okay. Did you get like Neil Patrick Harris or any famous celebs come out there and party with you?
We used to get party. Yeah, everybody used to come around our clubs. Do you know what I mean? It was like, that's what, it's like. At some stage, I'd run probably most of the biggest nights in London as well. So we would constantly had musicians and celebrities hanging out. I'm not going to name them because that's just wrong. But,
right.
Well, they were full all the time. It was a bit of not a Studio 54, but that kind of vibe where people came because it was cool. And they could get away with whatever they wanted to. So
that's awesome. I've always wanted to visit there. I think I might someday. All right, we got a question from Jamie. He says, "Who's your favorite new artist, say within the past 10 years?"
In the last 10 years, God, I don't even know. There's a fantastic band. There's a few fantastic bands that have gone under the radar. I mean, I really love Gentleman's Dub Club. They're a British reggae band. I think they're absolutely awesome. Another band called Kyoko that I really love over here. There's a fantastic hip-hop duo called Too Many T's, which are very sort of UK Beastie Boys. Sounds a bit naff, but they're not. They're absolutely off the chain. So, I'm not really a mainstream music person, like for all the reasons we just discussed. Right. Most of it. But there is a lot of stuff that are under. Holly Cook, I really love. She's got a new album out at the moment. She's amazing. Eva Lazarus, Gardner. I mean, there's loads that I could mention, but they're underground. They're not going to hit the mainstream anytime soon.
Right. All right, we got a question from Captain. He says, "Outside of Isabel, what is the best city to party?"
Over the different courses of the year, I mean, I always loved going to Poland. I used to love it. There's a city called Sopot in Poland on the beach there. I love Romania. I absolutely love. I love going to Thailand and partying. I love going to New Zealand and partying. To be honest, there's not that many not great ones. I mean, I even like Dubai now. And when I first went to Dubai, I thought it was like Las Vegas without the fun. You know what I mean? It was like, but even that now, I've sort of maybe because I don't have to fear for my life anymore. I quite enjoy going there.
Yeah, everybody was talking about Dubai. I don't know. It's I don't have that kind of money. I think isn't it really expensive over there?
Listen, again, I guess I'm lucky enough to get booked and play over there, so that part of it. But I think you can do it. I think you can get your value worth. Same as like saying going to Las Vegas. You can go there on whatever budget you want. Do you know what I mean? And you'll still have a decent time. But the thing with Las Vegas, Dubai, is they are so wealthy. The police drive Ferraris. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's insane. And so you'll never, I guess like going to not just Las Vegas, but say like California, there's always going to be someone with next year, like you pull up in a car and it's like, Jesus Christ. It's very opulent, it's very decadent because they've just got loads of money. It's as simple as that. I met Bin Laden's brother there.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah. I was in a hotel and he was chain smoking these cigars, and I said, "Do you know where your brother is?" It's like, and his voice sounded like he had a throat bite.
So, what decided to make you leave the island and come back to England and start making more music?
Money. I'd run out of it.
Oh, okay. So you just basically
you've seen a familiar sort of key to what happens here. No, I just the season ended. It's seasonal. It was seasonal. It was September, so I just come back and started doing the same thing in the UK.
Okay.
When I started doing it, the club scene wasn't really like the acid house scene, as you know, the electronic EDM, whatever hadn't really started then. So it was a real cottage industry. It was real grassroots. So, and then the next year, it just blew up, and there was like, you know, parties for 25,000 people. It was like the summer of love. It just went off. But that's where I got in and started very early.
Nice. We have a question from Phil. He says, do you remember Alder shots? Didn't you say you threw someone threw marbles at you?
Yeah, I remember Aldershot. It was actually a really good gig, and I didn't realise, because I thought Aldershot was in Surrey. It wasn't, as I got told by probably the person there. And I thought it was a well-to-do area. I was very much well mistaken. And we was walking down the high street, and there was this woman who was completely out of her head, and she was kicking marbles at cars and at their windows. And I think one just missed our head. It was just like, what crazy fresh hell am I in?
When you came back, were you signed before you came back, or did you start making like the dub pistols? Like, how'd you come up with the name? Was that already set before you came back, or how did all that
the dub pistols, this was when we're talking about coming back from my beefer, that would have been late 87, early 88. And then I went through the acid house years, and then I went through the sort of indie dance scene, the Happy Mondays, Stone Roses, blah blah blah. And then I really got bored again. I mean, it happens to me quite often that I find, you know, I need to move on and find something new. And I got bored of the house scene or the electronic dance scene at that stage. It become, you know, it started to have hits. It had crossed to the mainstream. Everything seemed formulatic. And so I was just looking for something fresh. And the Chemical Brothers, or they were called the Dust Brothers at that stage, they just done My Mercury Mouth, and it was like this fresh hip hop sound with electronic beats, and that was what got me into thinking that's what I want to be. And I was just trying to come up with a name, and my girlfriend asked me for a name for a band, and I said, and I was always into my reggae, and I was always, obviously the punk thing was a big part of my persona, so I just sort of automatically came to me, a Dub Pistols. She went, "Oh, that's great. Can I have it?" I went, "No, I didn't even have a band at that time, but I decided I knew that I was going to have one, and it was going to be called the Dub Pistols."
Nice. So what did you do the promotion? Now, how did you do promotions back then when you started the Dub Pistols? Did you guys have to do the old drive around with CDs in the trunk thing, or did you just
the industry had changed. I'd done a thing with a guy called John Carter, and we were doing a thing called Monkey Mafia, and we split up after the first release, and John went on to make an album for the Social. And so I went in to see Vanessa Rand, who was at Sony, and she was going out with Tom from the Chemical Brothers, and I went into her office and begged her to give me some money to make a record, and she gave me £500, which isn't much. And I kind of went away for ages, and nothing was working. Do you know what I mean? I was trying all these things to come up with a record, and nothing worked. And then I got together with a guy called, what's his name? Keith Tenniswood, who was Andy Weatherall, Lord Sabre. It was his engineer. So we went in the studio and took a load of pills, and Charlie, and came out with this tune that I thought was brilliant at the time, called "There's Gonna Be a Riot," which was the first ever Dub Pistol single. And I took it into the record label, and I sent it to the record label, and they didn't say anything for 2 weeks. Didn't hear nothing. I'm like, oh, God. So I phoned them up, and I said, like, the track, what do you think? She went, "It's shit, Barry." I said, "Sorry." She went, "Yeah, it's the worst thing I've ever heard." I went, "Really?" She went, "Yeah, you better come in and see me." And I was a bit depressed anyway at the time. Do you know what I mean? I was going around to people saying, "This isn't the worst record you've ever heard, is it? This isn't the worst record you've ever heard." And they're like, "No, it's not the worst." And I went in there, and I got the Vanessa to play it to me. And basically, she'd been listening to the digidump off the sampler, which sounded like a fax machine at the time, for anyone who knows what a fax machine is. And she actually thought that was the record. Like, beep, 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 beep. And she thought I was trying to be artistic. And that's how it's like. So then I fast forwarded the track and played it to her. And they went, "Ah, it's brilliant." And then it just blew up. And then that first track became Radio 1 single of the week, NME single of the week, and that was how the Dub Pistols started.
Right. That's it. What was your summer? This is Moose Gal has a question about this, and it's kind of along the lines of this. What were some of your favorite early albums before you guys like really took off? Like the songs you started making early.
Like, what do you mean? Which ones?
Like you just say your first. I'm not terribly familiar with all your catalog, but like from '87 up until the video game when I'm hip.
The Dub Pistols or other bands?
From other bands, just anything you've been.
I mean, other bands. I was really into Left Field. The first Left Field album, Leftism, was incredible. Underworld's first album, Dub No Bass with My Head Man, absolutely mind blowing. Some of the early Prodigy stuff I loved, and then God, I mean, I was massively into my hip hop. I was massively into NWA, public. I loved the Beastie Boys, but even before that, I'd gone, like I said, through my punk, my Clash, my ska, my reggae, Studio One. So I just literally gone through everything, which is why everything to me, punk isn't a sound per se; it's an ethic. Do you know what I mean? So anybody who tries to copy the punk sound, to me, has missed the point. If you try and be a punk band, you missed it, because for me, it's everything that goes in there. It's the ethic of being a punk band. It's the attitude, experimentation. It's all those things that make something punk, not trying to sound like something else, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It also says you remix tracks for the likes of Moby, Limp Bizkit, Filter. Now, did you get to meet any of these guys, or was it just like a sampling thing?
No, I've met plenty of them, and we've toured with many of them. Moby, I met just after we'd done the James Bond remix for him. We were at a festival in America, and he came into our dressing room. And at that time, like I said, we were completely crazy, and I think we terrified him, because he's quite a chilled out, laid back guy. And he just walked into this dressing room of absolute hedonism. And so I could tell he quickly sort of backed up and run off.
That's great. All right, we got a couple more questions. Phil says, is there any more big artists being organized for Mucky Weekend, Barry?
Keep it peeled. Keep your eyes out. There are a few more to be announced, but I'm not telling you now, mate.
There we go. And Jamie has a question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but back in the day, pills or booze?
What, back in the day or now?
Or either one, if you're still doing both, whatever you're taking.
I mean, back in the day, obviously, I was all about being loved up, so I love being on pills. I've grown out of that. As I said to you earlier on, I definitely, been through my years of substance abuse. I'm lucky enough to grow out of it. I used to do 2 bottles of vodka before every show and then a bottle afterwards. So nowadays, I just literally stick to lager.
Okay, nice. All right, now we got to get into this song Cyclone. Now, this is the first song I remember you guys from. Now, what was the inspiration for this song, or was it just some random dance tune out of many songs you did?
No, again, it was the third Dub Pistols single. And again, it was because of my love for ska music. So the horns come from us sampling the Scatterlights. Tommy McCook was on the horns. And it was just, the sound of what we were doing at the time. We got together a New York rapper called TK, and it was just, but it entered the charts in the UK, and it got on. It's one of the few tracks that we've had playlisted on radio. But it was Tony Hawk's Game that blew it up without a shadow of a doubt. That game is what actually made us. I don't want to say famous, because I think that's not. Gave us the biggest platform, and that's the song that everybody remembers us for.
Now, prior to the song being in the game, had you ever heard of Tony Hawk?
Yeah, I mean, I was into my skateboarding, so it was absolutely, and Jason, my partner at the time, was massively into his skateboarding. So, yeah, I mean, it was mind-blowing to actually get that, It was like we used to sit on the tour bus playing it all day.
Nice. Now, how did they approach you for something like this? Did you come up to them? Did they go to you? How do you even get on a video game?
It's just one of those, we're signed to Sony at the time. So, they owned a lot of those games and things like that. So to make their money back, they had to sync your records. I mean, we're lucky enough to get it. I can't pretend that it was some sort of like, master stroke by us, or that we were fortunate. I honestly think it was Sony trying to get their money back that they wasted on us.
Now, did you get to meet Tony Hawk at all?
No, I can't say that I've ever had that. I can't say that I've ever had that privilege. I mean, we did the Matt Hoffman Pro BMX game as well, and Tiger Woods, and lots of other games, and we did lots of films. And when I was more doing the films, you'd go meet the directors or some of the artists and things like that. But with the games, it was kind of a bit different.
Okay. Now, have you ever played the Tony Hawk video game?
Yeah, of course. That's what I said. We used to sit on the tour bus playing it.
You know, all right, who's your favorite standard character? And then we're talking 2 here. So Tony Hawk 2, who's your favorite standard character, and who's your favorite special character?
Oh, I can't even remember now. I mean, I stopped playing those games around that time, so I can't even remember. I know they re-released it recently with the new format, didn't they? They
did on like PlayStation 4 or 5 or something with because 2 and 3 were really fun, man. I remember you could there was a code if you could play with the Asia Carrera, the porn star. It was awesome. She had like a halter top on. Oh, it's great when you're like 20.
There you go. No, it was. I mean, again, it's just given us another, because when the thing with Point Blank, that first album where Tony Hawk's was on, we were signed to A&M and they went bankrupt. That album, it started to really take off in America, and then it got pulled. And it got pulled for the world, so it never really got released, and it's never been on any of the digital platforms until recently when Tony Hawk's brought it back to life, and then the label realised they could make money out of it. So it's only been the last year that they've actually put that record back up and released it, because I was trying to get it back to release ourselves.
Okay. We got a comment from Scouse. He says he wants your autograph.
Get me Kenny Dalglish's.
When was the last time you played any video game? Let me ask you that.
Do you know what? I don't, I don't anymore. And the reason I don't is purely because I'm an addictive personality, and I've got so much to get through that suddenly you just sit there wasting days and weeks of don't come off it, you know. So just purely for those reasons. Back in the day, I used to always play them, you know. I mean, I do love a good shoot it up game. And I was, you know, so it's that kind of thing. I didn't mind a bit of driving games either, so they were my favourites.
Yeah, I used to like Grand Theft. I'll tell you what, if they come out with another Grand Theft Auto, I might play video games. But other than that, I don't. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm on YouTube trying to entertain, get guests and stuff. I just don't have the time with kids. I got family too, job. You know, there's just not enough time in the day to play video games anymore. Yeah,
no, and I used to love them, and I used to, like I said, I just waste day again because I'm a musician. I used to have that time where I used to be sitting on tour buses or just sitting around doing nothing most of my life. So that's all I did was play games.
Okay. Now, the first lyric in Cyclone is about time travel. Hip hop and rap a lot about time travel. Now, if you could time travel to any point in English history, what period would it be?
Oh, if I could travel to any point in history, when would it be? Good question. I would like to go back to, again, because of my football heritage, you know, when Bill Shankly was in charge of the Liverpool team and the Beatles were big. So somewhere in the late 60s, I guess.
Okay. Now, I learned last year that 66 was the last time England won the Euros. And
the world, no. The world. They won. The world. It was the first and only time they won the world.
Okay. And that relates me to, because I'm here in Cleveland. And the last time the Browns won anything was 1964. So I share a good bond with my English brethren over there.
There you go.
All right, we got a question for Jamie. Who would you most likely to do a collaboration with?
I mean, I've been lucky enough to collaborate. I've just finished our 9th album, actually, and I've just collaborated with some amazing Horseman, Ragged Twins, Demolition Man. I don't know, the list just is massive, but I'd still like to work with Damien Albarn, Ian Brown, to mention a few. Perry Farrell. I mean, I've been lucky enough to meet him a few times. Jane's Addiction. You know, I've got nothing but love for that dude, and I know he likes to experiment. So, you know, there's just so many different people. Snoop, obviously, Dre. I mean, you know, they'll be just like, wow.
Right, no doubt. Oh yeah. All right, we got a question from B Wizzle Aquatics. What's your favorite Pokemon?
I have no idea.
We always ask that because he's big into Pokemon, and half the people don't even know Pokemon, but it's always fun. We got a question from Captain. He says, what artist from any era would you have most liked to work with?
From any era? Oh, God, there's so many. Where would you go? Obviously, you're Bob Marley, you're Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, Hendrix would be sweet.
There's just so many. The list just goes on and on. Prince, the list just goes on. I think anyone who's dead.
Right. After they passed, Kurt Cobain would have been sweet. Oh my gosh, think about it. All right, now this you were talking about the video games too, and I didn't realize you guys were in so many video games.
Yeah,
you guys were in the song "Official Chemical" was in the PlayStation game Frequency. The same song was also featuring Matt Hoffman, like we said.
Yeah.
And the song "Soldiers" was in Final Fight Streetwise, and Tiger Woods too. Nice. EA Sports '98. So, did you have any song in the video games that were like of all the video game featured songs? Was there one that was your favorite?
Yeah, definitely Tony Hawk's. Tony Hawk's, without a shadow of a doubt. Frequency was the one we probably got paid the most for, and I flew out to Los Angeles to perform, but it was probably the worst game. There was some of the great. There was, the Street Fighter was great, or whatever it was, Mortal Kombat. We were lucky. Like I said, we were really lucky with some of those games we got.
Oh yeah. Now, when you were traveling in the States, have you ever been to Cleveland?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you guys do?
I can't remember. We used to do the Vans Warped Tour, and I did 3 years or 4 years when we were signed to America pre 9/11, because that's when it all went really bad for us in America, because that was the week of our album coming out. But I used to literally tour, do 6 weeks tour in America, come home for a week, and go back for another 6 weeks, and that went on for 4 years. And you just got to realize what a vast country and how big. It's like touring 52 different countries, it's just vast. But incredible experience, incredible. And to see the differences from state to state, is incredible. And from one side to the other, it's just mind blowing.
Oh, it's so every state. I mean, we obviously a lot of the audience watching now is UK, and they know because we talk about it. Yeah, we're in here in Ohio and everything else, and yeah, every state. One state you could have mountains, another state you could have a desert, you could have a lake. I mean, it's just so different. It's beautiful. It's awesome.
I think one of the most mind blowing things was going to the Grand Canyon. Just looking over that was like wow, and then just like you say, and then going into Vegas in the middle of the desert, driving through Death Valley. New York. I mean, I was up the Trade Towers the night before it went. We were in New York doing the MTV Awards, and I've got pictures of me up there. And then we flew to Los Angeles the next day to start our tour, and that's when the whole thing just went absolute tits.
Wow,
the world changed forever.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I remember that. You can never forget 9/11. I was, what was I doing? I was in college, and they just canceled the classes that day. That was a crazy day, man. That's a crazy story. Oh, we got a question.
Our lyrics. We got a song called "The World's Gone Crazy," which was on our 6 Million Ways to Live album. That was due to come out, and our lyrics on that album were like blowing up the White House like I was an alien in Independence Day because we ain't seen no liberation, and submarine sinks, Concorde falls from the sky, the tallest buildings burn, hour the mothers they cry. And it was like it's like we'd written that, the world as it was there. It was like, so that's why Geffen couldn't release our album, and that's when things went really bad for us. But the world had changed that day.
Oh well, after 9/11, I mean, speech has been very like in the 90s, you could say whatever, nobody cared. Yeah. Now, you just since 9/11, that was a turning point. You got to watch everything you say because
everything changed. Everything changed.
Oh yeah, because I mean they could just say Patriot Act and whatever you say is considered whatever. And, watch it out there, man.
And traveling the world and just getting on an airplane changed. Going to an airports, everything.
Oh, I missed the days of the 90s airport where you just walk right up to the gate. That was great. Stand around and get searched and stuff. Now what? How difficult was it recording the latest album, Addict? It says it was released in October 2020. Was there any lockdown adjustments you had to do with this?
No, it came out during lockdown. Obviously, it's one of our most successful albums, but it was quite difficult because you obviously couldn't tour. We couldn't do in stores. So it was very much different. You know, it was a very different scenario. But during lockdown, I wrote another 2 albums, which is coming. The next album's due out in September.
Okay. Oh, so are you gonna do the new music from that album at the festival then?
Absolutely.
Oh, nice, my man. So when was the last time you were in Ithaca?
Is a what?
I think I can't even say it.
Ibiza.
There we go. Ibiza.
I was in Ibiza last year during lockdown. Some friends of mine hired a private jet and flew us out to Ibiza. But it was like we had no paperwork, we didn't have anything, and we had to pretend to be aviation engineers doing a pre-flight inspection for Boeing aircraft. And I remember when the police got me and they said, "What do you do?" I went, "Wheels." "Who do you work for?" And I went, "Him," and I just run off. But it really shows you like how the other half lived, because we were in a jet, and it's not because I had the money or because I'm being flash. I was just getting out of wherever I could. Do you know what I mean? But they literally, we had no security checks. We had no bag. I could have flown as much gear as we wanted. Do you know what I mean? It was like, just let us off you go.
That's awesome. I got a question from Phil. He says, I saw you play with Terry Hall at Gully Fest. How did you come to play with Terry Hall from the Specials?
The Terry Hall thing was, again, we were talking about the Specials earlier on, being my favorite band of all time when I was growing up. So one of the things that when we were making the 6 Million Ways to Live album was I requested to see if Terry would come and work with us. I never expected him to agree. He did. He turned up. We recorded that track. We recorded Problem Is in my house, in my front room. And I remember just sitting there thinking, again, in awe, because he was my hero. We became friends. He started to tour with us. He toured with us for about 2 years. He got Limble Golding from the Specials to come and play with us. And it was after Terry was playing with us, we was doing a show in Victoria Park, an anti-racism festival. And we did Gangsters together. And then Terry and Limble were walking out of the park. And people were going, "Oh, the Specials are great." And Terry was like, "Well, it's not the Specials. It was the Dub Pistols with us as guests." And that's when they decided to put the Specials back together again, which they give us credit for.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, is there anything else that you have to promote? And how do people get hold of you if they want to, contact you?
Well, and you can go to our website, dubpistolsmusic.co.uk, all the usual social outlets, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You'll generally find me on there talking rubbish. And come to Mucky Weekender in September. It's in Winchester. Remember, 9th and 10th of September.
Nice. Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Barry Ashworth for joining us. It's been a pleasure, sir.
My pleasure talking to you, mate.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.